the hair so curly. I like she said, what you know about love? I tell you everything. I got what you need. Woke up in the store and get what you want. You get what you please. We about to get it.
Hey guys, so I'm going to be filming the second video of the first one. If you haven't seen the first one yet, I will link it down below and maybe put it up in the, the thing that's here, like the eye thing that's there. Anyways, so yeah, don't worry, you'll know where it is. I definitely suggest watching the first video if you haven't seen it yet, because it is literally like me talking about everything that I talked about in that one. So definitely look at that one first. I'm going to be just reviewing the book that I had talked about, so The Play by Elle Kennedy. So I think that there's about 3 points that I want to hit, okay, about this book. And let's just go to the first one. So I think that overall, this book was great. I do think that, the YA romance formula is definitely not realistic. Like, we can all agree, like, romance in books is not realistic, we can all agree to that, But at the same time, I do think that this one was just more far off than a lot of the ones that I had read, because there was no breaking up of the couple. Like, that always happens. It always happens in every single book that you're reading that's in this genre. You get a couple you get a boy and a girl, at least for the ones that I read. I know now, there's a lot of same-sex books now and everything like that. Anyways, we're just gonna be talking general right now and with what I read. So there's a boy and a girl, and I usually read it from the female's perspective. So there's a girl that, whatever her mission is, she wants to have her first boyfriend, she wants to have her first date, whatever. And she's thrown together with this guy that's always attractive, and she's thrown together with this guy, and for some reason they end up coming up with a deal or something that makes them spend a lot of time together. And eventually, they realize how much they like each other, and then they end up getting together. And then something that had happened before in the book, that was kind of always going to be a thing that one of the two of them wouldn't like, ends up popping back up, and the couple breaks up. And then, it takes a few weeks or whatever, and the couple ends up back together because they realize how much they actually liked each other, and they realize what the other person had brought into their life. So with that all being said, that did not happen in this book whatsoever. They had, Demi and Hunter, they met, they were put together for a project. Demi was dating someone for 8 years. He ended up cheating on her. They broke up. I would say about a few weeks. I want to say it was a few weeks. I really remember it being a few weeks, but a few weeks, let's just say it was a few weeks to a month. And then she starts wanting to have rebounds. And after that, her and Hunter get together pretty quickly. I want to say it took about 2 months, maybe a little bit longer, but 2 months for Demi and Hunter to get together officially. And to me, that's just not believable, because in the beginning of the book, they pretty much spell out to you in capital letters how loyal Demi is, and how much she, believes in her relationship, and how much this relationship is gonna be the relationship for her. And of course, I know things change, and he did cheat on her in all of those different aspects, but at the same time, I do think that it's not believable that she could just be screw you, I'm going to cry, and then I'm going to date, and then I'm going to have a full-on serious boyfriend. Not that believable to me. Especially because they made her seem like she was loyal, super, super loyal. And, that's what I just didn't think was believable. And that kind of made me take a step back from the book a little bit. That being, a problem for me. I think another thing that I kind of disconnected with the book was Kennedy adding in Demi's friend TJ being suicidal. And I think that that should have been spelled out a little bit more. I do like the fact that Elle Kennedy decided to, you know, add the hotlines at the end for each, for like a lot of different countries. And I do like that. But I do think that it was, there should have been more signs, because what I was expecting was, you know, TJ to get mad 100% that, you know, she's dating somebody else and didn't give him a chance because everyone could see that TJ was in love with her. But I do think that to make him suicidal was a little bit unexpected in a bad way, because it wasn't spelled out. And of course, I know sometimes that, you know, people are suicidal and they never ever showed signs, and so when something happens, you know, you're kind of taken aback and you're like, oh my god, I had no idea. I know that happens, but I think like in a book she should have planted the seed way stronger, because I don't feel like it was planted at all. I just think there was something that like was just like thrown in there, and I don't really like that. I think it's like a good message to have in a book, don't get me wrong, but I do think that the author should have placed it carefully and let it like slowly like spread out. So that's just my opinion about that one. The thing that is the main thing that had like the biggest problem was at the end of the book there's an epilogue, and they have one of the couples, you know, decide to elope and like get married, and so they have like that little, like she has like that little segment inside of the book, and then after that she has Demi and Hunter just watching one of Demi's like creepy shows. And to me, I think that she could have done much better with that. Them just watching the show at the end and saying like, yes, we're gonna last forever, is kind of like, you know, like you kind of you barely saw the couple together, you know, you barely had the couple explore like, you know, the different sides of each other like at all. And for some reason, like Hunter is super reasonable as a guy for all these different things and just super understanding, and to me it's just not believable once again. So you have all these different things, but and then you're just like, yeah, they're gonna last forever, and you're like, well, yeah, I would last forever with a guy like that too, because he doesn't complain at all. Like he doesn't complain at all. Like he's there for you all the time. But like they made him, I feel like they made him like really paper thin and didn't give him enough layers to make him like an actual like real life character. Like yes, he had problems with his, you know, family and his dad, but like aside from that, it was like when Demi got closer and deeper into that side of his family and that side of, you know, his emotions, he kind of like shut her down after a while, and then you just never really like talk about it again, and you just mostly see like her side of things, which I don't like. You know, if you're in the mood for a book that like I said, does not have that heavy climax where the couple like breaks up and, you know, whatever, and they're going through like withdrawal with each other, and they stay together, but you know, they have that serious element at the end. If you're in a mood for a book like this, by all means read it, because I do think it's well written, and I do, you know, recommend Elle Kennedy in general. Maybe not this book, but like I do recommend like finding a book that is in your flavor and giving her a try, because I do think that she's very funny. I do really like her writing, and honestly, I did buy another book in this series. Unfortunately, I ended up buying a book that was the one exactly before this, so I have to wait to get the other ones that are also before this, but not the one directly before this, you know what I mean? So I'm gonna take a break from those ones, because I definitely cannot read the ending of the series and then go to the beginning right away, because I already know what happens, you know? I have to give my brain like a little bit of a break and just go back to it later. So anyways, that's pretty much what I think. I want to know if you guys had the same thoughts as me, or if you guys ended up finding something else that you didn't like, or something that you really liked that I did not touch on. Let me know in the comments down below, because I really want to know your guys' opinion about this. So anyways, so I do want to also tell a story that kind of paints this scenario with like a girl and, you know, breaking up with her longtime committed boyfriend, and then getting into a relationship afterwards, and painting a picture of what the reality is of that situation, because I do think that it's a common thing that should be touched on more. So let's get into that video. So I would say this happened when I was about 21, maybe 22, I don't know, 21, 22. I honestly just turned 25, so I want to say it was probably like when I was 21, because it seems like it was a long time ago. But anyways, so I had met this guy on Tinder, and honestly, he was, you know, kind of cute, and he was my type at the time. So I was like, you know what, let's swipe right. We swiped right, we matched. He messaged me immediately, and we, you know, got along fine. And then we ended up going on a date. And on the date, he ends up telling me that, you know, that he had gone out of a relationship like a few months ago, and just to like let me know, I guess. And I'm like, oh, that's cool, like that's fine. Like I just got a relationship too, like maybe like 4 months ago. And he's like, oh, okay, so you know, we were kind of like in the same boat about that, but like at that time, like I definitely feel like I got into relationships really, really quickly. So 4 months to me was like a long time. And you know, I definitely was to want a boyfriend. So yeah, so me and we're gonna call him Garrett. So me and Garrett are on this first date. We get along great, and after we leave the first place, we ended up going for a drive, and he's just asking me questions, and everything's great. And then I was a little bit nervous when I got out of the car to be like, you can't trust guys. So to be like, oh, maybe he's not going to talk to me again. Like, I don't know. And he did end up texting me like literally like right away. And from then on there, we honestly saw each other probably about like 4 times a week. And we slowly got into what they call nowadays like a situationship. The stupidest thing ever. Whatever. Anyways, a situationship is me and Garrett ended up being in a situationship because at one point he ended up telling me that he had just gone out of a relationship about a week before he met me, which, yes, it was a total lie from what he had told me whenever we first met. And honestly, I think then when I was like not as smart, as wise as I am now, even then I kind of had like cold feet about the whole thing then, because I was like, okay, this guy's not going to give me what I want, which was a relationship. And, you know, he is still thinking about another girl. Like, I don't want to be dealing with that crap, you know? But I liked him, and I honestly just did not want to start anew with somebody else. So I was like, you know what, let's just continue this, and I guess I'll just ride out this wave until, you know, he becomes my boyfriend. And honestly, there was a lot of mixed signals. Like, this guy drank a lot, and I am not a drinker. I mean, especially back then. I'm like a little bit of a drinker now, but I was not a drinker back then at all. And the only time I drank was when I was with Jessica from my last video. So that was the only time I drank. So I honestly like was not a drinker. This guy drank like every single weekend he got based. Okay, so every single time he ended up getting drunk and I wasn't there, he would be texting me like these sweet, sweet things, and just, you know, saying stuff like "you're mine," all these different things. And I honestly just like, I was getting mine, okay, because I was just like, I'm so confused. This guy tells me like whenever we're sober, like, you know, like we're not together, but then like he'll take me on dates all the time, like wouldn't let me pay whatsoever, and was with me all the time and wanted me to like meet his friends all the time and just do everything, you know. But then like when he's drunk, like he's texting me, like keeping me up to date on what the hell is going on. Like if he was at a bar and they were bar hopping, like every single time he entered a new bar, he would be texting me like, okay, we left this place, we're going to this place now. And then he would text me and be like, okay, I'm home now, like what are you doing? Like, and honestly, like I wasn't that type of girl. Like, you're not my boyfriend, so like you don't need to tell me like what you're doing, because like I don't have a say in the matter anyway. Like, what's the point in telling me? So he ended up being like that whenever he was drunk, and I just did not understand. But I mean, again, I stayed because I did not want to start over, and I did like certain aspects of the relationship, so I stayed. And at one point, it was like around Christmas time by this time, and he had a Christmas party, and he invited me to the Christmas party. And I did not go alone, girl, because I was not about to, be like left out of like everyone's conversation, because like all of his friends is like people he went to high school with, and like he was long out of high school, so he like kept the same friends, like whatever. And so he invited me to the party, and I brought my twin brother because I was not going to go by myself, and and so my brother was talking to Garrett's sister, and I was just sitting on the couch next to him and like listening to their conversation. And at one point, Garrett comes over and he's like, "Oh, open up." He's like, "Open my gift," and I was like, "I will. Like, I'll open it like tomorrow because I think tomorrow was Christmas." And I'm like, "I'll open it up tomorrow. And I'll text you like my reply or like whatever." And he was like, "No, no, no, like please like open it up now." And I honestly did not want to, because all of his friends were there, and they would be like looking at me, and I do not like attention. I do not like all eyes on me ever. I don't like it. And so I just did not want to do this whatsoever. And he like begged me. He's like, "Can you please open it?" And I ended up opening it, and it turned out to be a Swarovski heart necklace, diamond heart necklace. And I was so happy because at this time, like, I had dated guys and they had gotten me nothing. They had gotten me nothing. So me getting this from him, and he's supposedly like not my boyfriend, I was like, oh, okay, like obviously he's my boyfriend, like obviously this is like what he meant and why he wanted me to open it in front of like all of his friends. So I went home happy as hell, just showing off like my necklace from my new man, and I was like asking people, I'm like, okay, so does this mean we're officially together? Because he gave me this, like he didn't say the words, but actions. And everyone's like, yeah, like you're together. And I was like, okay, perfect. And so I want to say it was probably like a couple weeks after that, him and I were hanging out, and we were waiting for his friend to tell us when to come over to his house. And I had said some like offhanded comment, just like, oh yeah, I'm the best girlfriend ever. And he kind of like froze, but like I didn't think anything of it. And then I want to say a couple days later after that, after I slipped and said I'm the best girlfriend ever, we're driving around, and I'm like, where the hell are we going? And he's just like, he's like, I don't know. And I'm like, okay. And so then he ends up stopping the car in like this sketchy like parking lot, and he like turns off the engine. He turns to me and he says, I'm not your boyfriend, right? And honestly, like at this point, I was just pissed off because I just felt like I had been in this situationship for so damn long and putting up with all of his whiplash that he was giving me and all this mind that he was giving me. And you're gonna sit here after giving me a diamond heart necklace and tell me that we're not together? Like, you have to be kidding me, And honestly, I just flipped out and I was like, what the hell do you mean? We are together. Like, what do we do that couples don't do? Like, what do we do that, like, seriously, tell me. Like, we do everything that a couple does. And he's like, I told you that I didn't want a relationship. Like, I wasn't ready, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, honestly, just take me home. Like, I could not do it. I was just so fed up at this point. I was just like, I've been through enough with you. And, like, even though he had told me before we weren't together, like I said, the necklace to me was, like, speaking everything that should have been said anyway. And I was, even though we weren't together before the necklace, like, I still wasn't talking to people because I was like, he's still, like, my man's. And after that conversation, I was like, okay, wow. Like, I was like, wow, And so after that, he ended up taking me home, and he was like, you know what, I think we should just think about things. And I'm like, okay. Like, I had nothing else to say. And so I got out of the car, and I was upset, and I think I cried. Honestly, I used to cry a lot back then, so I think I cried, and I like left him alone because I'm like, if you don't want to speak to me, you're not going to speak to me. So I think I want to say it took him about like a day to message me. So like I got home, I want to say probably like 10 o'clock. And then the next day at around like 7 o'clock, he like messages me, and he's like, hey, what's up? Like, how are you? And I was like, I'm fine. Long story short, he ends up asking me to hang out, and I say yes. And we end up hanging out, and we never talked about, what we were going to do, like if we should still stay in this. Like, we never talked about that at all. We just went right back into things. The only thing that changed after the conversation was that I shouldn't be giving loyalty to someone that is constantly saying that they don't want to be in a relationship with me. So I started talking to other guys. Meanwhile, I started hanging out with him, and I didn't hang out with other guys, but I was definitely still keeping communication open with other people because, you know, you're not my boyfriend. So, I want to say maybe like a couple months, I think maybe like a month or two after that, him and I ended up getting together. He ended up asking me to be his girlfriend. And I want to say 2 months after that, we had broken up. He was acting weird, and I couldn't really figure out what the hell was wrong with him because I couldn't get a hold of him. And I ended up messaging one of his friend's girlfriends and like calling her, and she's like, oh, that's like weird because I got asked where you were yesterday, because we were all out, and I asked for him to bring you, and he said, oh, you were busy. And I was thinking, like, I'm not busy, girl, like, what? And I'm like, okay, well, thanks for telling me, you know, if you hear anything, like, let me know, because he's not answering my calls. And honestly, she didn't like him. I don't a lot of the guys' girlfriends didn't like him, so, well, I'm just gonna, like, anyways, so I'm like messaging him, and I'm like, you know, if like, let's communicate here, like, let's talk, you know, whatever. He's not replying to me, so I just like left it alone. And lo and behold, the next morning he sends me a message and is like, I think he said, like, I'm not ready to be in a relationship. I don't even know, something about that. I'm not ready to be in a relationship, or I don't want to be in a relationship, whatever. Take care. And honestly, you could just stab me in my eye with a fork, but to say take care, you pretty much just like killed me. Like, I just, take care to me is just so rude. I hate it. Don't ever say take care to me. So anyways, so that's what happened with that. And to this day, I kind of don't know, like, I know that it wasn't me that did anything. To this day, I know that he regrets it. To this day, I know now, like, I would never put myself in that situation ever again. And here is why. When a guy is out of a serious relationship, although guys try to show you that they move on quickly, which means, like, if you're dating a guy for a couple years and you get out of a relationship and he ends up dating someone else, and that's, like, he calls her, like, his girlfriend really, really quickly, it's because they don't know how to be by themselves. Like, a guy always wants the attention of a girl, and when you're used to it, being in a long-term relationship, of that attention, like relationship attention from a girl, it's hard for them to give that up. So a guy will get into a relationship really, really quickly before realizing, you know, he probably fucked up. And so that's what happens. So that's what he did with me. I was pretty much the rebound with his other relationship, and he wasn't ready for it. And he honestly should not have been on Tinder at all, in my opinion. Like, after a week, you shouldn't be. You should, like, get to know yourself again, and kind of deal with your emotions, and then put someone else in that equation, because it's not fair. But I mean, of course, you know, I decided to stay after all the whiplash he was giving me, so that's kind of on me. But I wanted to tell this story because I feel like it relates a lot to the ending, where, you know, Demi quickly, like, was out of an 8-year relationship and quickly got into a relationship with Hunter, and then was saying, like, they're gonna last forever. People, like, that's not true at all. If anything, my story is more than accurate. Olivia Cara actually has a video that's kind of like this, with a guy that had just gone out of a relationship, and he's kind of giving her whiplash too, and mixed signals. So I will link that video down below too. But yeah, like, definitely try not to get yourself involved in that situation. And, like, if you do, like, get yourself involved with someone that has just been out of a relationship, take it as, like, someone fun to hang out with. Don't take it like you're ever gonna be in a serious relationship. Like, stripe that from your mind immediately, because it rarely works out. And if anything, like, if it does, you're gonna be putting up with, like, a lot of shit that happened in their old relationship, and they're gonna be putting it all on you, because they haven't dealt with it yet, and they met you. They weren't alone enough to deal with it, you know. So just take that into consideration. And I hope you guys don't get into this situation, because I definitely would never recommend it. I will never put myself in that situation ever again. So yeah, definitely don't do that, guys. But I definitely want to hear your guys' thoughts on the book, and let me know if you guys want any more reviews by Elle Kennedy that you've been thinking of. I do actually have a book review coming up of this new book that I had just started reading, so I will definitely upload that and finish that book. Thank you guys so much for listening and so much for watching. Definitely let me know what else you guys would like to see. I have a lot of story times that I'm able to tell, and I was thinking of telling Jessica's ending story, so pay attention for that, and I will see you guys later.